The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky surface of Kepler 442c. As three different species worked together at the research camp, Dr. Jake Martinez adjusted his scanner and wiped sweat from his forehead while watching his alien companions sort through mineral samples. The Zephyrians looked like walking crystals that caught and reflected light in beautiful patterns, while the Vector resembled giant insects with multiple arms and clicking mandibles that made constant soft sounds. Jake had been part of this joint expedition for 6 days now and still found it amazing to work alongside beings from other worlds. Captain Lisa Brooks had handpicked him for this mission because of his expertise in studying alien life forms. The three species had formed an alliance 3 years ago, and this was their first major scientific collaboration on an unexplored planet. The planet itself was mostly barren with scattered vegetation and strange rock formations that seemed to shift color depending on the angle of sunlight. The air was breathable for humans but required special filters for the other species. Jake enjoyed the challenge of working in such an environment and had already cataloged several interesting microorganisms in the soil samples. Commander Zixtela approached Jake with her crystal form shimmering in the morning light. She moved with a fluid grace that reminded Jake of water flowing over rocks. Her voice had a musical quality that made Jake think of wind chimes when she spoke. Human Jake Martinez, our deep scanners have detected something unusual in the northern region, she said while her crystalline fingers danced over a holographic display. The energy readings are unlike anything in our databases. Jake looked at the scanner readings and felt his pulse quicken. The energy signature was strong and seemed to pulse with a regular rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The source appeared to be coming from deep underground, possibly from a cave system that extended far below the surface. Warrior Scout Clicksmore scuttled over on his 6 legs, his antennae twitching with what Jake had learned was excitement. The Vector had compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums, making them excellent scouts and explorers. The pattern is most strange, Clicksmore clicked in his rapid speech. It resembles biological activity, but on a scale we have never encountered. Before, the resonance suggests something very large and very old. Jake studied the readings more carefully and noticed that the energy pulses were not random. They followed a complex pattern that repeated every few minutes, like a code or perhaps a form of communication. The scientist in him was fascinated by the possibilities. How far is this location from our current position? Jake asked while checking his equipment pack. Approximately 12 kilometers to the northwest, Zixtela replied. The terrain is rough but accessible with our ground vehicles? Captain Brooks emerged from the main shelter and joined their discussion. She was a seasoned explorer who had led dozens of missions to uncharted worlds. Her calm demeanor and quick thinking had earned her the respect of all three species. What have you found? She asked while reviewing the scanner data on her portable device. Jake explained the energy readings and suggested they investigate the source. The readings were too interesting to ignore and might represent a significant scientific discovery. Brooks nodded in agreement and began planning an expedition to the site. The journey to the northern region took 3 hours, across rocky terrain dotted with strange crystal formations. Jake rode in the human vehicle while the aliens used their own specialized transport. The energy readings grew stronger as they approached the location, and Jake could see his alien companions becoming increasingly agitated. When they finally reached the coordinates, Jake understood why the readings had been so unusual. Before them stood a massive cave entrance carved into a cliff face that stretched high above their heads. The opening was perfectly circular and seemed to pulse with a faint internal light. The energy readings were now so strong that they interfered with some of their equipment. Remarkable, Jake whispered while setting up his scanning equipment. The cave appears to be natural, but the energy pattern suggests something artificial. Inside, Zixtela moved closer to examine the entrance but stopped several meters away. Her crystal form began to flicker with colors Jake had never seen before, and her musical voice carried a note of distress. The resonance patterns are deeply disturbing, she said while backing away from the cave mouth. My people have ancient Memories of places like this. We do not venture into such locations. Clicksmore was also showing signs of distress. His antennae lay flat against his head and his mandibles clicked rapidly in what Jake recognized as nervous behavior. The warrior scout, who had fearlessly explored dangerous territories, was clearly afraid of something about this cave. "The deep song is wrong here," Clicksmore stated firmly. "My ancestors warn against places where the earth itself dreams. This is such a place, and we must not enter." Jake found their reactions puzzling. Both species were known for their courage and scientific curiosity, yet something about this cave triggered what seemed like an instinctive fear response. He had studied alien psychology extensively and had never seen such a strong negative reaction to a simple geological formation. "What exactly are you sensing?" Jake asked while continuing to scan the cave entrance. "It is difficult to explain." "In your language," Zixtela replied. "The energy patterns resonate with something deep in our racial memory. Places like this are mentioned in our oldest songs as forbidden territories." Jake noticed that his own equipment was picking up increasingly complex readings from inside the cave. The energy signature was definitely biological in nature, but unlike anything in the known databases. Whatever was inside was large, old, and possibly intelligent. "I need to investigate this," Jake announced while checking his environmental suit and exploration equipment. "This could be the discovery of the century," both alien species immediately objected. Zixtela's crystal form flashed with alarm colors, while Clicksmore's clicking became almost frantic. Captain Brooks also expressed concern about Jake entering the cave alone. "Jake, we don't know what's down there," Brooks said. "The energy readings are off the charts, and our alien friends are clearly afraid of something." Jake understood their concerns, but his scientific curiosity was stronger than his caution. He had spent his career studying unknown life forms, and this represented the ultimate challenge. Whatever was inside the cave had remained hidden for possibly thousands of years. "I'll take full safety precautions," Jake assured them while attaching additional equipment to his belt. "My suit has full life support and constant communication links. If anything goes wrong, I can exit immediately." The aliens watched in amazement as Jake prepared to enter what they considered forbidden territory. Their respect for human audacity grew with each piece of equipment Jake secured to his exploration gear. To them, humans seemed to possess a unique combination of courage and recklessness that allowed them to venture where others feared to tread. As Jake approached the cave entrance, he felt a strange, tingling sensation that seemed to come from the rocks themselves. The energy readings on his instruments increased dramatically, and he could hear a faint humming sound that seemed to come from deep within the earth. "Here goes nothing," Jake muttered as he stepped into the glowing darkness of the cave, leaving his amazed companions behind on the surface. Jake stepped into the cave and immediately felt the difference in the air around him. The temperature was warmer than outside, and the atmosphere seemed to vibrate with energy that made his skin tingle. His helmet lights revealed smooth walls that curved gently downward, creating a natural tunnel that seemed to invite exploration. The first thing Jake noticed was the strange glow coming from the cave walls themselves. At first he thought it might be some kind of mineral deposit, but as his eyes adjusted to the dimmer light, he realized the glow was moving in slow patterns across the rock surface. It reminded him of the way bioluminescent organisms created light in deep ocean environments. His communication device crackled with static as Captain Brooks tried to contact him from the surface. "Jake, can you hear me? What are you seeing down there?" "The signal is weak, but I can hear you," Jake replied, while adjusting his radio frequency. "The cave walls are glowing with some kind of biological light. It's unlike anything I've seen before." The tunnel sloped gently downward, and Jake found himself walking deeper into the planet's crust. His instruments showed that the energy readings were getting stronger with each step he took. The air quality remained good, and his suit's systems showed no signs of dangerous gases or radiation. After walking for about 10 minutes, Jake noticed that the tunnel began to branch off in different directions. The main passage continued straight ahead while smaller tunnels led off to the left and right. What amazed him was that the brightest glow seemed to come from the main tunnel, as if something was guiding him forward. "Brooks, are you still there?" Jake called into his radio. "I'm here, Jake," came the scratchy reply. "Your signal is getting weaker, but we can still track your location. The alien teams are very worried about you." Jake smiled despite his situation. "Tell them I'm fine. The cave seems to be leading me somewhere specific. The bioluminescent patterns are getting more complex the deeper I go." The walls around Jake had indeed changed dramatically. What started as simple glowing patches had evolved into intricate networks of light that pulsed and flowed like living circuits. The patterns reminded him of neural networks he had studied in biology textbooks, but on a massive scale that covered the entire cave system. Jake stopped to examine one section of wall more closely. The patterns seemed to respond to his presence, growing brighter when he approached and dimming when he moved away. He reached out with his gloved hand and touched the glowing surface. The moment his fingers made contact, the entire tunnel lit up with brilliant colors that raced along the walls like lightning. "Incredible," Jake whispered while recording everything with his helmet camera. "The cave is definitely alive in some way. It's responding to my touch and presence." The tunnel continued to slope downward, and Jake found himself descending deeper into the planet than he had ever gone before. His suit's computer calculated that he was now more than 2 kilometers below the surface. The pressure readings remained normal, which suggested that the cave system had some way of maintaining atmospheric conditions. As Jake walked, he began to notice sounds coming from deeper in the cave. It wasn't the echo of his own footsteps, but rather a low humming that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The sound was almost musical, with tones that rose and fell in complex patterns that reminded him of whale songs. "Brooks, I'm picking up acoustic phenomena down here," Jake reported while trying to record the sounds with his equipment. "The cave is producing sounds that seem to have structure and meaning." "Jake, your signal is breaking up," Brooks replied, through heavy static. "We're losing your location on our scanners. The energy interference is getting too strong." Jake realized he was on his own now, cut off from the surface team by the strange energies that filled the cave system. Instead of feeling afraid, he felt excited by the prospect of making contact with something completely new and unknown. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber that took Jake's breath away. The ceiling stretched high above his head and was covered with flowing patterns of light that looked like a living aurora. The walls were covered in what appeared to be organic structures that pulsed with different colors and intensities. Jake walked to the center of the chamber and slowly turned in a circle, trying to take in all the details. The entire space felt alive and aware, as if something was watching him and evaluating his presence. His instruments were going crazy with readings that exceeded their normal ranges. "This is definitely a living organism," Jake said to himself while making notes on his recording device. "But it's unlike anything in our biological databases. The scale is enormous and the complexity is beyond current understanding." As Jake explored the chamber, he noticed that certain areas glowed brighter when he approached them. It was as if the cave was trying to communicate with him through light patterns. He began to experiment, walking toward different sections and observing how the bioluminescence responded. One section of the wall caught his attention because it displayed patterns that seemed almost like written language. The symbols flowed and changed but maintained certain consistent elements that suggested they might carry meaning. Jake spent several minutes studying these patterns and trying to understand their significance. The humming sounds grew louder and more complex as Jake moved deeper into the chamber. The tones seemed to be coming from multiple sources throughout the cave system, creating a symphony of sound that surrounded him completely. Jake found the music strangely beautiful and calming rather than frightening. Jake discovered another tunnel leading out of the chamber, this one glowing even brighter than the path he had followed to get here. The energy readings from his instruments suggested that whatever was generating these phenomena was located somewhere ahead in the cave system. "Only one way to find out," Jake said while checking his suit's power levels and life support systems. Everything was functioning normally, and he had Enough supplies to continue exploring for several more hours. As Jake entered the new tunnel, he noticed that the walls here were covered with even more complex patterns that seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. The cave was definitely aware of his presence and seemed to be guiding him toward something important. The tunnel curved gently downward, and Jake found himself descending even deeper into the planet's interior. The air remained warm and breathable, and the bioluminescent patterns continued to light his way forward. Jake had the distinct feeling that he was walking through the nervous system of some vast organism that existed on a scale he had never imagined possible. After another hour of walking, Jake noticed that the tunnel was beginning to widen again. The patterns on the walls had become so complex that they hurt his eyes to look at directly. The humming sounds had evolved into something that almost sounded like voices speaking in an unknown language. Jake realized that he was approaching something significant, something that would change everything he thought he knew about life in the universe. Jake stepped into the largest chamber he had seen yet and stopped in complete amazement. The space was so vast that his helmet lights could not reach the ceiling or the far walls. The entire chamber glowed with patterns of light that moved like living rivers across every surface. The air hummed with energy that seemed to vibrate through his bones. At the center of this incredible space stood something that made Jake question everything he thought he knew about life. A figure towered above him, at least 3 meters tall, with a form that seemed to shift between solid matter and pure light. It was roughly humanoid in shape, but composed of the same glowing material that covered the cave walls. The being turned toward Jake, and he felt a presence touch his mind. It was not frightening, but rather curious, as if something ancient and wise was examining him with gentle interest. Jake had never experienced telepathic communication before, but somehow he understood that this creature was speaking directly to his thoughts. "Why do you come where others fear to tread, small one?" The voice in Jake's mind was deep and resonant, carrying the weight of countless years. The being's form flickered with colors that seemed to express emotion in ways Jake could not fully comprehend. Jake found his voice despite his amazement. "I'm a scientist. I study life in all its forms. Your existence here is the most remarkable thing I've ever encountered." The Guardian, as Jake immediately thought of the being, tilted its head in what might have been curiosity. Its form shifted and flowed like liquid light while it seemed to consider Jake's words. The patterns on the chamber walls pulsed brighter as if responding to their conversation. "The crystal singers and the hive minds know old truths," the Guardian said while moving closer to Jake. "They remember when our kind walked between the stars and shaped worlds with our thoughts. They know to fear what they cannot understand." Jake felt no fear despite the overwhelming presence before him. His scientific curiosity was stronger than any instinct for caution. "But humans don't fear you. Why is that?" The Guardian's form brightened with what Jake sensed was approval. "Fear is a choice, small one. Your species chooses differently than others. The crystal singers remember our power and withdraw. The hive minds sense our alien nature and flee. But humans approach with wonder rather than terror." The being gestured with one arm toward the glowing walls around them. "This world has been sleeping for millennia, waiting for a species that could accept difference without demanding conquest. Your kind shows promise, Jake Martinez of Earth?" Jake was startled to hear his name spoken by this ancient being. "You know who I am?" "I know many things about your people," the Guardian replied, while its form settled into a more stable appearance. "We have watched your species spread among the stars with interest. You possess qualities that are rare in the younger races." The chamber around them pulsed with increasing intensity as the Guardian continued to speak. "You have courage without foolishness, curiosity without destruction, and compassion without weakness. These traits make you suitable for what lies ahead." Jake stepped closer to the towering figure, his instruments recording everything but unable to make sense of the readings. "What lies ahead? What is this place?" The Guardian's form shifted to show complex patterns of light that seemed to tell a story. "This world is more than rock and soil. It is a living entity, one of many that exist throughout the galaxy. We are its guardians, its protectors, and its voice. Jake watched in fascination as the patterns showed images of other worlds, other beings, and vast networks of connection that spanned the stars. There are others like this place? Many others, the Guardian confirmed. But they sleep now, waiting for the right time to awaken. The galaxy grows dangerous, and the old evils stir in the darkness between stars. Soon all life will need protection. The being moved to a section of the wall that glowed brighter than the rest. As it approached, the patterns formed into something that looked like a doorway made of pure light. The Queen has been waiting for one like you, Jake Martinez. One who seeks understanding rather than dominion. Jake felt his heart racing with excitement and anticipation. There's a queen. What is she? The Guardian turned back to Jake, and its form seemed to express something like ancient sadness mixed with hope. She is the heart of this world, the dreamer of its dreams. She has slept for countless ages, waiting for a species brave enough to approach without conquest in their hearts. Jake looked at the glowing doorway and felt a pull that seemed to come from deep within his soul. She wants to meet me? She wishes to offer your species a gift, the Guardian explained while the doorway pulsed with welcoming light. But first, you must prove that humanity is ready for such responsibility. Many species have been tested over the millennia. All have failed. Jake felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. What kind of test? The Guardian's form flickered with what might have been amusement. The test has already begun, small one. You entered this place when others would not. You approached me with curiosity rather than fear. You listened to my words with an open mind rather than assuming I am an enemy. The being gestured again toward the glowing doorway. But the true test lies ahead. The Queen will show you truths that will change your understanding of the universe. She will offer power that could transform your species forever. The question is whether you will use such gifts wisely. Jake checked his suit's power levels and life support systems. Everything was functioning normally despite the incredible energies surrounding him. What happened to the other species that were tested? They succumbed to fear, greed, or the desire for dominance, the Guardian replied sadly. The Crystal Singers saw the Queen's power and tried to contain it for their own use. The hive minds attempted to absorb her consciousness into their collective. Others simply fled rather than face what they did not understand. Jake nodded slowly, beginning to understand the magnitude of what he was facing. And if I fail this test? The Guardian's form brightened with something that felt like respect. Then you will leave this place unchanged, and your species will continue on its current path. But if you succeed, Jake Martinez, you will carry back to your people a gift that will change the destiny of all life in this galaxy. The glowing doorway pulsed with increasing intensity as if responding to their conversation. Jake could feel something calling to him from beyond, something ancient and powerful and incredibly important. The choice is yours, small one, the Guardian said while stepping aside to clear Jake's path to the doorway. The Queen waits beyond, but only you can decide whether to meet her. Jake looked at the doorway of light, knowing that whatever lay beyond would change everything. He thought of Captain Brooks waiting on the surface, of the alien species who had refused to enter the cave, of humanity's future among the stars. I didn't come this far to turn back now, Jake said while walking toward the glowing portal. Let's see what the Queen has to say. Jake stepped through the doorway of light and felt reality shift around him in ways that his mind struggled to understand. The chamber he entered seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, with walls that curved impossibly and a ceiling that appeared to extend into infinity. The laws of physics seemed to bend and flow like water in this sacred space. At the center of this impossible room, suspended in a web of pure energy that sparkled like captured starlight, was the Queen. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he looked upon her magnificent form. She was beautiful beyond description, a being of living light and thought, whose appearance constantly shifted between states of matter and energy. The Queen's presence filled the entire chamber with warmth and ancient wisdom. When she moved, reality rippled around her like waves on a peaceful lake. Her form seemed to contain entire galaxies within its depths. with stars and nebulae swirling in patterns that hurt Jake's eyes to look at directly. "Human," she said, and her voice resonated through every cell in Jake's body. The word carried the weight of countless eons and the gentle warmth of a mother's love. "I have waited so long for one of your kind to find their way to me." Jake felt compelled to kneel, not from fear but from recognition of something far greater than himself. The Queen's presence was overwhelming but not threatening, like standing before a force of nature that commanded respect rather than terror. "Your Majesty," Jake said, his voice barely a whisper in the vast space, "the Guardian said you wished to meet me. I am honored to be in your presence." The Queen's form brightened with what Jake sensed was pleasure. "Rise, Jake Martinez of Earth. You need not kneel before me. I am not a ruler who demands submission, but a guardian who offers protection to all life." Jake stood slowly, still amazed by the incredible being before him. "The Guardian mentioned that you have been observing humanity. What have you seen?" The Queen's form shifted to show swirling patterns of light that seemed to tell stories. "I have observed your species through the dreams of this world and the whispers of the cosmic winds. You are young among the star-traveling races, yet you possess qualities that older species have forgotten." Jake watched in fascination as the patterns showed images of human history, from the first steps on the moon to the establishment of colonies on distant worlds. "What qualities do you mean?" "Hope," the Queen said simply, and the words seemed to fill the chamber with golden light. "Even in the face of impossible odds, your species continues to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. This is a rare and precious gift in a universe that grows darker with each passing age." The Queen gestured with one arm, and the walls around them displayed images of other worlds and civilizations. Jake saw the crystal singers on their home planet, beautiful, but isolated in their perfection. He saw the hive minds working in perfect harmony, but lacking individual creativity. He saw dozens of other species, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. The crystal singers seek perfection and fear anything that might disturb their harmony. The Queen explained while the images shifted and changed. The hive minds value unity above all else and cannot tolerate independent thought. Other races have fallen to pride, greed, or the desire for dominance over their neighbors. Jake studied the images and began to understand what made humanity different. "But humans are different somehow?" The Queen's form pulsed with approval. "Your species combines courage with compassion, curiosity with wisdom, and strength with the willingness to sacrifice for others. These qualities make you suitable for what must come." The images around them changed to show vast darkness spreading between the stars, with shadowy forms that seemed to devour light itself. Jake felt a chill run down his spine as he watched entire star systems being consumed by this creeping evil. "What is that?" Jake asked, pointing at the terrifying displays. "The ancient hunger," the Queen replied, her voice heavy with sorrow. "A force older than most galaxies, driven by the need to consume all life and light. It has slept in the void between universes for countless ages, but now it stirs once more." Jake watched in horror as the darkness spread across the galactic map, destroying everything in its path. "When will it arrive?" "Soon," the Queen said while the chamber around them dimmed with the weight of her words. "Perhaps within your lifetime. Perhaps in the next generation. The exact timing matters less than the need for preparation." The Queen moved closer to Jake, and her presence became even more overwhelming. "This is why I have waited, Jake Martinez. Your species may be young, but you have the potential to stand against this darkness when older races will falter." Jake felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on his shoulders. What can humanity do against something like that? "We're just one species among millions." The Queen's form brightened with something that felt like pride. "You underestimate your own people. Humans have a gift for inspiring others, for bringing different species together in common cause. Where others see only differences, you see potential for cooperation." She extended a tendril of pure energy toward Jake, and he could feel power radiating from it like heat from a star. "I offer you a gift, Jake Martinez. The knowledge and power to protect not just your species, but all life in this galaxy." But know that accepting this gift will change you forever. Jake looked at the offered energy and felt both excitement and fear. What kind of change? You will become a bridge between your kind and the forces that guard this universe, the Queen explained. You will carry within you the power to awaken the sleeping worlds and rally the star-traveling races against the coming darkness, but you will no longer be entirely human. Jake thought of Captain Brooks waiting on the surface of the alien species, who had refused to enter the cave of Earth and all the worlds humanity had touched. Will I still be me? The Queen's form flickered with gentle amusement. You will be more yourself than ever before, Jake Martinez. The gift I offer will enhance what you already are rather than replace it. Your curiosity will become cosmic insight, your compassion will become universal love, and your courage will become the strength to face any darkness. Jake looked around the impossible chamber one more time, thinking of all the species he had seen in the Queen's visions. What about the others? The crystal singers and the hive minds? They will follow when the time comes, the Queen assured him. But first, humanity must accept the role of guardian and protector. Your species must become the light that guides others through the darkness ahead. Jake took a deep breath and made his decision. What do I need to do? The Queen's energy tendril pulsed with approval. Simply choose to be what you have always been, Jake Martinez. Be human. Be curious about the unknown. Be brave in the face of danger, and be willing to sacrifice for the greater good. The power will flow naturally from these qualities. Jake reached out and grasped the tendril of energy, feeling the Queen's gift flow into him like liquid starlight. The moment Jake touched the Queen's energy tendril, power flowed through him like nothing he had ever experienced. It felt like being struck by lightning made of pure knowledge and cosmic awareness. His body trembled as the energy rewrote his very essence, changing him on a level deeper than DNA or cellular structure. Jake could feel his consciousness expanding beyond the limits of his human brain. Suddenly, he could perceive dimensions of reality that had been invisible before. He saw the quantum threads that connected all living things across the galaxy and felt the heartbeat of distant stars, as if they were part of his own body. The knowledge that flooded his mind was overwhelming but somehow manageable. He understood now why the Queen had chosen humanity for this role. Humans had a unique ability to adapt and grow while still maintaining their core identity, where other species might be destroyed by such cosmic awareness. Jake found himself becoming more human rather than less. I can see it all, Jake whispered as visions of the galaxy's past and future filled his mind. The rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the web of life that connects everything. The Queen's form glowed with satisfaction as she watched Jake's transformation. You see with clarity now, Jake Martinez. You understand the true scope of what threatens all existence. Jake saw the ancient darkness approaching from the void between galaxies, a hunger that had consumed entire universes before this one. He also saw the network of sleeping worlds like this one, scattered throughout the galaxy and waiting for the right moment to awaken. There are hundreds of them, Jake said in amazement as he perceived the sleeping guardians hidden on distant planets, all waiting for someone to wake them up. And now you have the power to do so, the Queen confirmed. You will return to your people and share this gift with those who are ready to receive it. Humanity will become the awakening force that rouses the galaxy to defend itself. Jake felt the changes settling into his new form. He was still recognizably human, but something more as well. His eyes now held depths that spoke of cosmic understanding, and his voice carried harmonics that could resonate with alien minds. Most importantly, his humanity remained intact, serving as an anchor that kept him connected to his origins. How will I know who is ready? Jake asked while testing his new abilities. He could feel the Queen's presence not just in this chamber, but extending across the entire planet, which was waking from its ancient slumber. Trust your human instincts, the Queen advised with gentle wisdom. Your species has always been good at recognizing potential in others. Start with those closest to you and let the gift spread naturally through bonds of trust and friendship. Jake nodded and felt a pull toward the surface world above. Captain Brooks and the alien teams would be worried about his long absence. More importantly, they would be the first to witness his transformation and help decide humanity's future role in the galaxy. "I should return to my team," Jake said while preparing to leave the impossible chamber. "They'll need to understand. What has happened here?" The Queen's form began to fade as her energy spread throughout the awakening planet. "Go with my blessing, Jake Martinez. Remember that you carry not just power but responsibility. Use both wisely." Jake found himself back in the Guardian's chamber, but now he could perceive the being's true nature. The Guardian was not separate from the Queen, but rather an extension of her consciousness, a part of the planetary entity that had been waiting to greet worthy visitors. "The transformation is complete," the Guardian observed while its form flickered with approval. "You are no longer just human, but you have not ceased to be human either. This balance will serve you well in the trials ahead." Jake began his journey back to the surface, but now the cave system revealed its true nature to his enhanced perception. The entire planet was one vast organism, with consciousness flowing through networks of living stone and energy. The bioluminescent patterns that had guided him deeper now lit his way back to the surface world. As Jake climbed toward the cave entrance, he felt the planet's awareness following him with protective interest. The Queen's gift had created a permanent connection between him and all the sleeping worlds scattered throughout the galaxy. He could sense their locations and knew instinctively how to awaken them when the time came. The journey to the surface took much less time than his descent into the depths. Jake's enhanced abilities allowed him to move faster and more efficiently through the living tunnels. The cave walls pulsed with welcoming light as he passed, celebrating the successful completion of humanity's first cosmic test. When Jake finally emerged from the cave entrance, the alien teams immediately noticed the change in him. His eyes held new depths that made the Zephyrian's crystals resonate with harmonious frequencies. The Vector warrior scout's antennae twitched with recognition of something greater than ordinary human consciousness. Captain Brooks rushed toward him with obvious relief. "Jake, you've been gone for over 8 hours. We were starting to plan a rescue mission." Jake smiled, and his expression carried warmth that seemed to calm everyone's fears. "I'm fine, Lisa. Better than fine, actually. I've learned something incredible about our place in the universe." Commander Zixtala approached cautiously, her crystal form flickering with colors that indicated deep respect mixed with awe. "You have been changed, human Jake Martinez. The resonance patterns around you speak of ancient powers awakened." Warrior Scout Clicksmore clicked his mandibles in what Jake now understood was a gesture of reverence. "The deep song sings differently. Now, the sleeping world has awakened, and you carry its voice within you." Jake looked back at the cave entrance, which now pulsed with gentle light that spoke of the Queen's presence spreading throughout the planet. "I met someone very important down there. Someone who has been waiting for humanity to prove itself ready for a greater purpose." Captain Brooks studied Jake's transformed appearance with growing amazement. "What kind of purpose?" Jake turned to face his team and the alien representatives, knowing that his next words would begin humanity's transformation from explorers to guardians. "The universe is in danger from something ancient and terrible. The Queen has given humanity the power to wake the sleeping defenses and unite the galaxy against the coming darkness." As Jake began to explain what he had learned in the depths, he felt the Queen's gift starting to spread. Captain Brooks was the first to feel it, a warm presence that enhanced her natural leadership abilities. The alien teams watched in fascination as humanity took its first steps toward becoming the galaxy's protective force. The cave behind them pulsed with increasing brightness as the planet's awakening accelerated. Soon, the energy would spread to other worlds, and the galaxy would begin to stir from its long sleep. The ancient darkness was coming, but thanks to one human's courage to enter where aliens feared to tread, all life would be ready to face it together.